Now, Ted Morton brought it in and he's defending it. And you know what? Ted Morton's going to go down with the ship, but that's fine. At least he's committed to the legislation that he brought in the province of Alberta. However, we have the former Justice Minister saying, well, maybe we need to review it. And I said to her at the CBC panel in Edmonton yesterday, I said, you are the minister responsible for legislative counsel. Your ministry, Justice, drafts all of the legislation that goes into the legislature. You voted for it in 4 readings of the legislature. And now you are saying, and as the senior minister in Calgary defended it in front of all sorts of special interest groups that came in and tried to explain that Bill 36 is faulty. And she defended it for a good year. Now, conveniently, she is saying it needs to be reviewed. We have Bill 50, Electric Statutes Amendment Act. You know, and I should say that these ideas, these policies all start out with an admirable objective. Bill 36 is a response to environmental stewardship for our oil and gas industry, for our farmlands, grazing leases, and our recreational property. It starts at a good place. It was just so faulty in its consultation that the decision was made without consultation and everybody's mad. And I'm talking about First Nations, Métis settlements, Eastern Irrigation District, municipalities, the oil and gas sector, people with recreational properties, and you know what, I would be too if my livelihood was around these types of properties. So they start out right. Electric Statutes Amendment Act. A major piece of legislation, a major initiative in our province to expand electrical transmission and generation in our province. It has to be done. There is no question about that. Because it facilitates growth. If we are going to diversify our economy or attract other businesses to Alberta or grow the businesses that we have to be certain that we can deliver them electrical power so that they can grow their businesses. The process was faulty. The ISO, which is the regulatory body listening to the people who need, it's a supply and demand hearing. Good process. The provincial government, the cabinet, lobbied in a line from Fort McMurray to Brooks. They lobbied it in for consideration, and they shouldn't have, because they then in many ways perverted the independent regulatory process. So now we have a line that actually isn't needed in Alberta, but we're going to have to pay for it. So I'm up in Hinton. The president of Alberta Newsprint says to me his input costs will go from $5 million to $25 million. You know, that's no way to run a province. So now what's happening? It went through 4 readings in the legislature, went through cabinet, legislature. We now have a senior minister of that government who voted for it on all 4 readings, who just left this room, now saying he would repeal Bill 50. And so on the royalty review, on Bill 50, Bill 36, I use this as an example that we can't run government like that. We cannot create an environment where there's instability and unpredictability in our province. Government should be there to provide dependability. You should be able to look at your government, you should be able to know exactly where they're going. It should be communicated to you why we're going there and how we're going to get there. And so for me, this is a matter of principle. And we got to this position because, as I said in my opening remarks, there was no connectivity between the cabinet and the membership of our party. I went to a party convention in Red Deer, and the minister responsible for Bill 36 was actually lecturing the members of our party about how this is good for them, as opposed to listening to them about the trouble, the concerns that it raised. So I'm in this race to take our party back and take our government. In my view, I think our party in Alberta, at the provincial level, has been hijacked by a handful of cabinet ministers who are indifferent to the membership of our party. So it's one of the reasons I got into this race. Now, you can make your judgments about this. I am giving you information. I am in this race to hold them accountable, and I think the membership of our party should hold them accountable, and the people of Alberta. We can't have this instability and unpredictability. We have teachers' agreements for 5 years. They promise teachers labor peace agreement for 5 years. They freeze their salary after 3 years. So you see there is a pattern of you start out from a good point, we want labor peace, but you end up botching it and making everybody mad on the way through. Now, you know how I know I'm right about all of this? Because our premier just stepped down, the leader of our party stepped down. There is something wrong. He just had a huge majority in the legislature. So there's something wrong, and we have to go in and we have to repair that. My candidacy is to hold them accountable and do the right thing. You know, we have, as I travel across the province, we have such a fantastic opportunity in this province. I actually believe that the next 10 years in Alberta could be the best 10 years in the history of this province. We have hundreds of years of oil sands resource in the north. We have growing demand, not only in the United States, but South and East Asia. We have this tremendous opportunity to support the Gateway Pipeline project to the West Coast, Prince Rupert. Create a new market for what we produce, our natural resources in this province. And frankly, I'd be just as happy exchanging my Canadian currency for rupees and for yuan as opposed to just American dollars. I think it is incumbent upon the leadership in our province to make sure we can diversify our economy. So by supporting that Gateway project, I also know this too. I know this too, that as traders in South and East Asia, if they know they can rely on us as a good customer for our oil, I know that they will then be relying on us as a good customer for our agricultural products, our forestry products, everything else that we produce in this province. We produce a high quality product in this province, particularly as it relates to our natural resources. And if we can diversify and create an environment where we have new trading partners, new trading relationships, I think that's in our best interest. I don't want to have to worry about Daryl Hannah being taken away in handcuffs or James Cameron lecturing the Premier of the province of Alberta about oil sands development. We have to stop playing defense with our natural resources. We have to start playing offense. They're our resources. They're who we are. It pays for our health care and our education. And as I said, every chance I get in these debates, as the Premier of this province, I am accountable to the people that live within the boundaries of the province of Alberta. I'm not accountable to Washington, and I'm not accountable to Ottawa. I'm accountable to the people of the province of the Alberta. Now, for us to realize the dream on this northern strategy, which will, by the way, benefit all Albertans, let's get that straight. You know, people say, well, Rick, you're from Calgary and you're talking a lot about northern Alberta. That is going to be our future in northern Alberta, and we as Albertans will all benefit from that because 2/3 of our expenditures virtually are in healthcare and education. And that is where we're going to feel it. So for us to do that, we have to, as a government, set out a strategy, and my strategy will be out Monday or Tuesday, and it will be the strategy around how we develop our resources, how we diversify our markets, and how we, in a sustainable way, develop our natural resources in the province of Alberta. And it will be, I know how to do it. I simply have to pay attention to one of the principles of our party, environmental stewardship. So, there it is. Fiscal responsibility, environmental stewardship. As I said, everything we do should be run through the filter of the test of our principles. And so just before I close, let me tell you that when we were in Fort McMurray, we had a debate. And we had all the other candidates there who are connected to the existing government. And every one of them was talking about how important the oil sands resources in northern Alberta and the Fort McMurray Wood Buffalo area are to the people of Alberta. It's the engine of our growth. It plays a big part of our gross national product nationally. And I, prior to that debate, was talking to the mayor and the head of planning. You know, go talk to the planning guy, right? Talk to the planner, the head planner for the city of Fort McMurray. I says, what's going on? He says, we're 3 years behind in infrastructure development. And I look at that as a businessman, and I say, how can we expect Fort McMurray to be the engine of our growth in this province, and the government has not been able to keep our infrastructure development to support what our dreams are in this province about oil sands development. They're behind in schools, they're behind in roads, they're behind in bridges, schools, hospitals. Everything's behind. We actually should be 2 years out in front of their needs, as opposed to 3 years behind. And I use the example, Rick, I remember driving down the Deerfoot when nobody was on the road. You remember that? You could drive down Deerfoot and you'd look around and you wouldn't see another car, because the city and the province planned for future growth. And that's what we have to do in Fort McMurray. If you go to Fort McMurray now, it is a nightmare. And I feel sorry for the mayor of Fort McMurray, because she's trying to do her best without the support of the provincial government, with all this economic opportunity going there. I had one of my campaign workers say, that drove from Edmonton to Fort McMurray, why is the road to the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow 2 lanes? I mean, there's just a perfect example of how we've neglected. So part of my northern strategy will be to let's get out over the course of the next number of years. As we know, particularly municipal politicians know, it takes a long time. When you get behind, it is really hard to play catch up. We are going to have to do some dedicated funding towards Fort McMurray that is beyond sort of the traditional municipal relationship based on population grants. We're going to have to push and get up front. And so to me, if you're in business, you've got family here, this is going to be a great place to live. The role of government is to create an environment where people want to come, put down roots, raise their family, where taxes are low, where we have clean air and clean water, and we are the envy of every other jurisdiction in the world. And my government will create a scenario where northern Alberta will be a model for everywhere in the world as to how we should develop and make it a great place to live in northern jurisdictions around the world. So I'm very excited about that, and we've already started to do some planning. Hopefully after Saturday or October 1st, we can really kick into gear. But I think it's important that I communicate that too, because if what I say to you resonates with you, and I represent or resonate with what you expect from your provincial leadership, then I need to have your trust. I need to be able to trust that you will support me in what I want to do, and then I promise you that I will do everything I can to support what your aspirations are in this province, and I will do the right thing. And I won't let you down.